Good morning. How is everyone this morning? See, Andy was first one in this morning. Good morning, Andy. I have been busy as heck this morning. Fed all the animals and checked them, and Lucy's walk, and then freeze. I got the freeze dryer going this morning. I got pickled beets and onions in the freeze dryer, along with some Jello. And as you can hear, I got a couple of roos that are talking. Jesse says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jesse. I hope you're not driving this morning. It's Loretta's 7th birthday today. Happy birthday, Loretta. I hope you have a blessed birthday. Jesse says he'll be heading to work soon. You be careful out there. Right now, it's 22 degrees here. And it's supposed to get up to 42. So it's supposed to raise 20 more degrees. I'll believe it when I see it. And he says, happy birthday to Loretta. And she also tells Jesse to be careful. Oh, I forgot to fix this. I need to see all chat. There we go. Jesse says, Loretta said, thank you, Verna, and that she has her birthday girl ribbon. LOL. That's great. Loretta, I'm sending you a big hug. Woman in Spirit says, happy Saturday. Blessings to you all. Little Ridge Farm says, howdy. Well, Woman of Spirit is Jan, and Little Ridge Farm is Mark. And Jan says, happy birthday, Loretta. I still haven't reweighed the guinea pigs to write it down and tape it, because I've been kind of like in and out of things. I'm having problems with dizziness with my ear. So, oh, I hate that light. I got to get over this way more. There we go. I got to get my other dust together. That goes in a different area. So the guinea pigs are really, the koi are really growing. And Give me a minute. I'm going to go get one. One of the youngest ones. Mama, can I grab one of your babies? Okay, heart. I know that's what I have. See? Whoa, where are you going? Wants to hide my hair. That was fast, wasn't it? Now put it back. That baby was so good.
Call from +19373297897.
I don't know why people pick right now to call me. That almost looks like your daddy, Quail. That was Heart. That was Black Heart. Because when you look at her in one direction, it looks like a heart on her back. If you look at her the other direction, it just looks like a stripe. And Lucy said she wants to get in on the talk today. All right. Up. No, you just want me to pet you. Okay. And then he's saying hi to Jesse. I know you're my baby. You're my big baby. Yeah, you are. I can't pick you up and show you like I do the other ones. Oh, that's old Swanson. Hey, cuz. Not awake yet, I see, huh? Even though I didn't want to get up, I still took care of all the animals before live stream. And I even ate breakfast. So, has anybody got anything new going on at their homestead this week? Jesse says, about time you woke up, as Steve. I think this floor's got a slant in it. There was a dog here. So I got the freeze dryer. I got pickled beets and onions in the freeze dryer along with strawberry banana jello. Jan says, I learned to ice skate in my yard, LOL. Without skates? It's easier without skates than it is with skates. Believe me. How much ice did you get, Jan? Is there anybody but me that didn't get any ice? Oh, we have 8 people and 6 mics. That's good. Steve's AFK. Got to get some water for coffee. Jan says skates not included, about an inch thick and not melting. And Andy says, I still have ice. Well, I don't have any ice, thank the goddess. But it was colder than ice outside this morning. Only 18 degrees. Let's see. Jan says, someone told me we'll just put salt down. Little do they know, when it's so cold, the salt does not work. Plus, I do not want to get around any of my garden areas. Jan, what I've used with ice, I don't use salt. I use cold coffee grounds, dried up coffee grounds. Dave Lister, hello, Dave. Dave Lister says, no ice here. It's supposed to get up to 55 today. Yes. You're so lucky, Dave. Echo, what's today's forecast?
In Franklin, it's 23 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today, you can look for mostly sunny weather with a high of 44 degrees and a low of 23 degrees.
Yeah, it's supposed to get up to 44 today. So we're going to be 11 degrees colder than you, Dave. David. And what state are you in, David? There's a place a couple miles down the road ready for you to buy. I'm too poor to buy. I could rent, but I can't buy. Jan says, my coffee grounds go to compost buckets. Dave says, okay, Oklahoma. All these people.
Call from +19.
Oklahoma. Yeah, but Jan, see, you can use your coffee grounds to give you safer walking on ice. And it's great for your garden. And David, you guys have ice? We moved here from Minneapolis, so we feel your pain. Did your part of Oklahoma have ice? Because I know Hidden Heights Farm has ice. It says, yes, last of it melted yesterday. Oh, okay. And he says, my coffee grounds and eggshells are in a bag waiting to go into the ground compost. Yeah, see, I use coffee grounds over ice for traction instead of salt. Because by spring, that'd be a nice fertilizer. Jesse's heading to work now. After work, I'm taking Loretta to Wahlburger for supper. They are having a special daddy-daughter date night tonight. She will get a rose and kids' activities, plus kids eat free right now. That's cool. Sounds like you got everything planned out for her. And says, that's awesome, Jesse. David Lister says, last week you were talking about black soldier larvae. Can you go into how you use them, please? Well, black soldier larvae are great composters, and they will even kill off the bothersome flies. They'll eat their eggs that they lay, and they're a big fat maggot that your birds love to eat. So you get too many of them, you can just pick a few of those and put them in your cage, and the birds will eat them. You can buy them and you can raise them. All you got to do is scoop up. If you dump your trays, just dump them into the container where the black soldier fly larvae are, and they'll turn that into compost real quick. And Steve says black soldier flies have more protein than mealworms. Yeah, and they're fatter and they don't look like maggots. And Jan says, I had some plants come up in my compost bucket. I think they're a butternut squash since I cooked one this week. Could very well be, Jan. I got hydroponics going. I got lettuce in my arrow garden. And I started my microgreens of mung beans. And I just ordered another bunch. I'm going to be growing sweet potatoes and radishes in hydroponic. I'm also going to keep growing with microgreens. Oh, and I want to get some bush beans too. Jessie says she got to open her present last night after I got home. Supper tonight, then balloons and cake tomorrow. She gets a whole weekend of birthday fun. Not spoiled at all. No, you're doing it right. David says, will they be okay outside in the winter? They go into hibernation in the winter, David. Jan says, Jesse, it's great to be spoiled at any age. C says it's James' birthday this week, too, so he'll be 8, I think. Happy birthday, James. What day, Steve? And Steve says, happy birthday, Loretta. Does she get ice cream with that cake tomorrow? Jesse? And he said, is Dawn on this morning? I don't know. You guys might want to share the live stream so you can catch your friends. Jesse says, happy birthday, James. Jan says, happy birthday, James. And I say, a blessed birthday, James. Andy says, happy birthday, James. I need to keep my hands warm, so I'm using a mason jar for coffee today instead of a cup. Oh. Jay says, I thought about ice cream, but she wants carrot cake. So ice cream didn't really sound good with it. Yes, it does. Ice cream goes good with any cake, even if it's just coffee cake. You need your milk with that. David says, I hope it's not compost tea there, Verna. No, David, I don't have any compost. I live in an apartment, no places for the compost. He says, I love carrot cake. Vicky says, I do the same mason jar coffee, hand warmer. It's great. Hot tea works great too. Yeah, but I didn't feel like sitting around waiting, making hot tea. I let the coffee maker make the coffee and I just go on. I got up late this morning, so I was in a hurry to get everything done. And as you can see, as you guys can hear, the boys are active today. And let me see. I think my quail are 7 weeks today. So tomorrow I get to, so next week I'll get to harvest tomorrow. All the extra males. No, David, this is French vanilla coffee with milk and stevia. There, now can you guys hear me better? David says 42 left going in brooders today at 1 week. Starting to get those flight feathers going. Yeah, that's always fun when you see that. She says, could hear fine before, but definitely can tell it's louder. And he says, be right back. Coffee needs making. Jan says, Verna, that's 7 weeks won't by so fast. Let me double check and see if it's 7 weeks or 8 weeks. I got it written on one of my calendars. Yeah, today's 7 weeks. The 25th, there'll be 10 weeks. Yep, 7 weeks. It's because I had so many things giving birth in a row that it seems kind of. Let's see, the koi that I'll be processing are The koi that I'll be processing are 10 weeks today. Yeah, it's about time for me to start gathering some eggs. I start that tomorrow because I always start that on a Sunday. and put them in on a Saturday evening. I think I'm going to clean up my little giant and put him in the little giant. David asks, how many quail do you normally have on hand, V? Well, before I used to keep about 90 on hand. Right now, I've got one breeding set. Steve asks, how many eggs are you getting? Sometimes 3, sometimes 4. Because, you know, the devil egger doesn't lay every day. So I've only got 4 hens. So if I have to do a small hatch, that's okay. Woman of Spirits says, Verna, what kind of feed do you give your quail? Well, right now they're still on the game bird starter. And I've been giving them extra oyster shells because I had one that was giving me a soft shell egg. But I'm not having that problem anymore. Because I give the cows, you know, the oyster shell, I give that to on the side so they can only eat it if they need it. David says, we have 75 in the shed and 42 in the brooder inside. What brand? Well, the only thing I can get right now is the Purina Game Bird starter. Yeah, I'm not doing any do more stuff. See, says I do Purina Game Bird starter, and then I use Jumor, which is not made by Purina. Well, I have some old Dumore that I'm mixing in with the Purina right now until that bag runs out. And I know it's good because it worked on the last birds I had. But I have lentils and rice just in case there's a problem. I might just give them make a little lentils and rice and cook it all together, then freeze dry it, and that way I have some feed on the side already made up that I can give the birds when needed. Give it to them as a treat instead of just black soldier flies. No, David, another thing about those black soldier flies, like I said, they'll keep the pesky flies down. The biting flies, they keep those down. They eat them. So that kills like 2 birds with 1 stone. You got a good composter, and it keeps the other pests down. And the third thing is it's extra protein for your quail. And from what I understand, you could grow those in a tote container and You can raise those up just like you do mealyworms. Yes, she says they'll eat the regular fly, eggs, and larvae that get laid in the quail poop. And I think the adults attack the other flies too. She says, I put a bunch of black soldier flies in a tote and fed them poop and scraps. It was fun to play with, dropping scraps in and watch them devour and pull it down into them. Yep. You got to put them in your house in the winter, don't you, Steve? Or you just let them go into hibernation. Jan says, LOL would like to have something that eats mosquitoes, bats, frogs. Steve agrees, you need bats. David says, we have ours in Winola cages. Can we put the black soldier flies in the trays as well? Probably put a few in there if you're raising them. But I'd say just dump your trays into your black soldier fly tote. And by the time it's time for you to dump your trays again, that'll be ready for you to, it'll be all compost. See, if it wasn't for me getting ready to put everything in hydroponics, I would have room to do that. See, I use Winola Ranches, and I got Dale's Quail's brooder stacking brooders. The stacking brooders I use for the koi. And I got 2 3-tier Winola Ranch cages and 1 single layer breeder cage. She says, I move all the stuff the black soldier flies made into my neighbor's garden area. It was nice and pretty and dark. Should do them good this year. What about your garden area, Steve? Aren't you gardening, cuz? Just as I use empty tuna cans for quail treats. Those fit pretty good in the Winola feed trays. Yep. I don't have tuna cans. I'm afraid to trust tuna because I don't know what's in that broth that they're cooked in. Because that broth could have MSG in it and they don't have to put it on the can because they didn't make it. She says, no garden for me yet. Not even a tower? You don't even have a garden tower? Or hydroponics, cuz? He says he has 4 whiskey barrels. What are in the whiskey barrels? I hope you're not drinking all that much whiskey. David says we have 3 to 2, 3-layer, a dual layer I built and a small brooder outside. That's a lot of poop. Yep. Amy B says, hi, everyone. I was out cleaning the quail cages. Good morning, Amy. I got to get a hold of the guy downstairs. He was supposed to clean cages yesterday, and he didn't come up even. Andy says, I don't have anything green veggies growing right now. I've got lettuce growing. I just gave a bunch of it. Let me make sure. I know I harvested some. Let me see. Make sure I gave it away. Yeah, I fed it to the quail. She says, my poop falls from the cage to the ground, and the black soldier flies take care of it. I don't shovel between May to October. Yeah, but from November to April, you shovel, don't you? Steve, you shovel it into your black fly thing. Jan says, blessings, Amy. Amy says, oh man, to have a guy downstairs who cleans quail cages, V, you are spoiled. I pay him to clean it. He cleans the quail cages and the koi cages. It's a way to help him out because he's on a fixed income as well. And he says, I have white ground. Can't grow on that, LOL. No, but you can grow in inside. Nikki Jane says, morning. Blessed morning, Nikki. And Andy said hello to Nikki, and Nikki said hi back. Says, during the winter, I can only take the top level off as there are black soldier flies sleeping in there. I toss it into a draining ditch next to the cages. David says, gotta run. We're going to see ya. Have a blessed day, David. Steve says, when it rains, it washes down into the ravine. And he says, I'm growing inside. I'm growing quail. Well, I've got quail going. I got lettuce going that I'm harvesting. And I have microgreens I started last night in the closet. And in 3 or 4 days, I'll be moving them out because I pre-sprouted them overnight in water before I ever planted them. Well, you guys, I'm going to need some more coffee. Be right back. Oh, see. Amy says, it reminds me of Zach's setup with the washout ditch next to the quail. Verna, I had no idea the quail were going to be so bananas over sprouts. It has become a special treat. Yeah, Amy, it is a special treat. they get on that Sprite like giving a little kid a candy bar or ice cream. Jan says, Steve, when it warms up, throw some seed in the edge of the ditch. See how they grow. Andy says, so I went ahead and put the eggs in lockdown last night. Out of the 30 eggs, only 7 were clear, so 23. 23 went into lockdown. That is wonderful, Andy. Good luck and happy hatching. Nikki says, I have microgreens growing too, just about. Ready. Andy says, that's not so bad considering I lost power and the eggs were so cold when they were shipped. Yeah, but they didn't freeze, Andy. The key is freezing. If they freeze, then they're in problems. But if they were shipped right, like Zach ships his, they're in 2 boxes, and then the foam that keeps them safe. And he says, "Say, Verna, I'm very excited." Yeah, you are excited. Amy says, I had some quail chicks and dug eggs incubating together for a friend. Quail go to lockdown on Tuesday. Has anyone else had to combine and incubate different species? If you do chicken and quails, you want to start the chickens first, but you want to separate those babies as soon as they come out. Amy says, I know it's not recommended. And Andy says, yeah, they were shipped right like Zach does. Yeah, so it isn't that. The problem could be just the fertility rate, and it could also be just the manhandling. He goes, but my IncuView incubator hates me. I don't know what an IncuView looks like. She says, I might start my seed sprouts this weekend. Amy says, so I use a Brincy. I looked at the prices of Brincy yesterday, and they make me sick. I can't afford those prices. Couple hundred for a tabletop that doesn't even do 90. Amy says, I know, I don't have a big one, but it makes me hatch more, so I get my money's worth out of it. Well, I have a little giant and a hubivator. My hubivator gave me problems last time. So until I can take it apart and find out what the problem is, it's going back in with the innovator. In other words, on the do not use list. Then I take that little giant and I got to dust it out and sterilize it. And Amy says, I know, okay. Amy asks, how many weeks to butcher the bro pins? Well, I usually butcher the bros anytime after 8 weeks. Depends on how long you want to feed them and how much other stuff you got to do. Because usually they don't grow enough from 8 weeks to 10 weeks. There's not that big a difference compared to the feed. So the bachelor pad you can clean out at 8 weeks. Amy says, I have a very loud jumbo, the size of a small hippo. If he's one of your breeders, that's good. If he's not one of your breeders, you can harvest him now. Because that's what I used to do when they get up, when they wake me up 3 o'clock in the morning. That's when I call the next day. She says, Amy got a 10-pound quail. Amy says, now I'm hoping I don't screw up the pipping time somehow. Got the humidity set right now. It went up a little too high yesterday, but I got it down now. And he's laughing at Steve's 10-pound quail. That's a little inside joke with somebody saying, what was it, last week? They meant to say 10 ounces and they said 10 pounds. C says, yeah, Katrina raised 10 pounders. Yeah. Amy says, working on it, Steve. I'm sorry, I wouldn't trust them to last in the cages at that height. And he says, I think Katrina started the 10-pound quail. Yeah. I couldn't remember who it was, but when C said Katrina raises 10 pounders. Don't forget, she's on Monday nights. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 6 p.m. Pacific. C says Katrina has the 10 pounders and Jasmine is responsible for the Moody Green, isn't it? Moody Green quail. Oh, I figured out. Big Mama, she isn't really biting me. She's giving me love nips. Because she's always glad to see me. And so she gave me a gentler nip last night. I should grab Big Mama and show you guys to her. There's Big Mama. See how long her hair is? See, that was my best breeder. She certainly is a hefty girl. She is. She's my best breeder. Amy says, wow, she's quite something. You weren't kidding about being big. Andy says, she is big. She says, they say the camera adds 10 pounds. With her, Steve, I think it takes away 10 pounds. Amy says, I love the Kai squeals in the background. Miss my pigs. I mean, the koi. Yeah, and you know what? That's the first time that I picked her up that she didn't get all excited. Her heart was calm and everything. But she's the one that gives me the love nips. And I'm trying to break her from doing it. But she's letting me pet her more. When I stick my hand in the cage, she lets me scratch her more. She finds out that I'm not trying to hurt her. And little mama is about half her size. So one is actually big mama is actually a koi, and little mama is more of a guinea pig. Amy says she knows she's a local celebrity, just wants her camera time. Well, I don't hold them every day. But I do pet her every time I open up the cage. Amy says, can quail be tamed to be held? Sometimes. I know I had a friend that I used to give him quail to process, and he has a bad bipolar disorder and stuff. And well, he wanted them alive so that he could process them himself, because that triggers a memory from when he was a child. So one time I gave him 3 quail. He processed one, and then the other 2 became pets for the longest time. They'd crawl on his shoulder and just perch on his shoulder and nuzzle him and stuff. And they were like a service animal to him until he had a maniac or disorder episode and processed them too. He was more afraid that his landlord was going to boot him out for having a pet. So yes, if you handle them enough, they can be. I don't think any wild animal likes it when you first pick them up, because of that prey instinct. They're afraid everybody wants to eat them. So if you have one that you're going to keep as a pet, just handle it a lot. Steve says, we do want to eat them. Yes, but we don't want to eat a pet, Steve. The only pet I have is the other half of me, which is Lucy. The rest of the animals, I enjoy them until it's time for freezer camp. Andy says, yes, they can be tamed down. Chris from Slightly Redneck has a video about it, telling he knows someone that has one that rides on her shoulder. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Andy. I know of a guy that had one, that had 2 that would ride on his shoulder. Nikki says, Amy, I have 2 I can hold and love on. And then you have others that, well, you try to do that too, and they'll spit water at you, spit poop at you, and it's like one of the koi of the first litter, the ones that I'm going to be processing. I grabbed one of his litter mates and he sprayed pee at me. Nikki says, one is great with children, the other is only good with me. Amy says, I have a favorite pin that is about halfway there. Very friendly rooster, Russell Crowe. Like the name. There's a lot of people that will raise hens for pets. When they eat the eggs, but the hens are their pets. You know, different strokes for different folks. And he says, my 7-week-olds are almost getting too tamed. Every time I open the cage, a few come running to me. One will jump on my arm, too. Yep. I notice on the quail, if you have your hand up like this, they're friendlier. But if you have your hand like this, they run for cover. The guy that lives downstairs, he says, he was telling my other friend Karen when I had him over for cards and Yahtzee earlier this week. He's telling her he lays in his bedroom and he hears the roosters going off, and then he laughs because he hears both of us arguing. This morning, the one that says me too was the one that was talking the most earlier. Amy says, the way I have my cages, 3 groups are at eye level, and they love to look at the food lady, just a little shorter than they are. What do you want? Andy says, my almost 4-year-old hen will end up under my hand every time I'm working in the cage. She was just for eggs, quail. I only had the same 11 quail for 3 years, so they all really got tamed. That's cool. See, before I used to process all my birds by the time they were 4 months old because I was doing my experiment. Now I'm going to see how long a breeder can live and be prosperous. Andy says, my adult kids would come over and get them out and hold them. That's cool. Well, since I've been online, Good Simple Living has posted, and so has Living Traditions. Well, I tell you, Bill's quit cussing out the koi when he cleans the cages, because he's realized I am not happy with him cussing them out, because if you're gonna pitch a fit doing a job, then I don't need you to do it. Because if it wasn't for all the animals, he wouldn't have a way to make a little extra. And he says, this one hen is getting to live her life out. I'm wondering how long they can live. I've heard, the longest I've heard so far is 8 years. Do you remember when she was born, Andy? And he says, I agree with you there, Verna. Yeah, because now I did my first test was how long can you breed them before you have problems with interbreeding? And then now mine is to see how long they can be protective in the house. Because Zach does the big scale, but he doesn't see how long they're productive. He just has his own way of trading them out. Me, I got the birds band. They have a band on their leg. So I know which hatch they came from. Andy says she was 3 weeks old in April when I got them. Says this April would be 4 years. How often is she laying, Andy? Amy says, do quail pick at the leg bands? No, they don't. And what I'm using is, you know, those spring type keychain bands? I cut the bands like this. And what you do is you open it up, get it around their leg, and then you just wrap it. And see, it went from that little to that big. See, it was 4 bands, now it's only 2 bands. So there's no way it's going to cause a problem by the bird growing too much. It grows with them. Now the other leg bands, I can't do that myself. I can't get them on, hold the bird, get them on, everything else. Amy, I'm going to send you the link to them. To what I got. Wrong one. I need that one. Just a minute. Well, hell. Amazon, you're not helping. You don't do things again. Let me do it this way. Here it is. They're plastic stretchable spiral bracelets with coil keychains. And there's 100 pieces for $20, $19.99. And you get at least 6 out of 1. or however many you want. I only do 4 rings. Nikki says, my friendly girl is in the house and she's 3 years old. Quit laying for a couple months now. Back to laying nearly every day. That is cool, Nikki. Eddie says, I got her April 18th, 2019. She's in a cage with many others. I don't know how good she is at laying. You need to put her in a cage with one other. Andy. And that way, you'll know how many she's laying. Because if you get 2 eggs a day, you know one of them's hers. Lucy, I know. Go lay down. You got your breakfast. Did you eat your breakfast? I already fixed you your breakfast while you were out. So she'll be 4 years old in a couple months. Eddie says, in the spring, I will move them to different cages. I only want one cage to care for in the winter. Yeah, but Andy, if you're going to see about the life, why don't you bring her in the house in a cage with one other playmate, or outside in a cage with one other playmate? So that way you'll know. Yeah, what you do? Quit laying in January, December and January? Nikki? And he says, my stupid cat would eat her. Cats. I don't have cats. See, all my animals know who's the alpha, and that's me. So I guessed right. Yeah, so that was winter enough for her. I'm going to try an experiment. I'm going to cook up some lentils and rice and add it to their feed and give them a little scoop of it about every other day and see how that works on them. Maybe I'll make a little small batch. I need to get some bulk lentils this month. Lucy, go lay down. You've already got fed. You're just wanting attention. Here, let me see if that works better. This cat is an idiot, but he stays in the house. Bruno, hi. Glad to see you back. How you doing? I knew what the I meant, Bruno. Sometimes the H don't want to work for me either. Ah, you're doing good. That's great. You miss getting to see Big Mama. Bruno, I'm crazy as ever. Nikki says December and January, she quit laying. She has a friend next to her, but will not accept any other in with her. She was beat up when young. Well, that's good that she has a friend with her. Is her friend another hen? Amy says, I use a Rubbermaid tote and add a wire panel to the lid for ventilation for my special needs quail. The cats are interested, but they stay away. I got one in there yelling, stupid brat, stupid brat. Andy says his brother is a barn cat. He doesn't mess with rabbits or quail. I raised a brother in the rabbit shed. The mom is a great cat. I could put her in the quail cage and she would just go to sleep. Dawn says, good morning. Just got here. Good morning, Dawn. Bruno says, nice to be nuts. I know. I'm not nuts. I said I'm crazy as ever. You know, crazy like a fox. Amy says, hi, Dawn. Dawn says, ha, stupid brat. Yep. C says, good morning, Dawn. We were getting concerned. Dawn says, S.O. Swanson, hi. I just got up 30 minutes ago. Well, I got up at 8:35. And he says, my last cat would watch over baby rabbits and not touch the quail, but this cat wants to eat them all. Get a muzzle for her, Andy. Get a muzzle for that cat, and then let the quail out. Nikki says, it's a pretty boy. He is very quiet. I have only heard him crow maybe 3 times. Dawn says, hi, Amy. Hi, Andy, and everyone else. Andy says, hello, Dawn. Dawn says, Verna, I got up at 9:15. See, Dawn, if I got up at 9:15, I would have been 5 minutes late, and I hate being late. Being late to me is like having fingernails on a chalkboard. In fact, if I'm on time, I always feel like I'm running late. Andy can tell you, I was here early. And I just told her I'd be starting in a minute. Andy says, guess it's kind of my fault. I made rabbit feet toys for him. Dawn says, I'm only late for my coffee. I'm exactly on time. I have things to do before I can get on the computer. That's what I do, Andy. When I get up, I have to take Lucy for a walk or let her out, depending on the weather. I got to feed Lucy. I got to feed 3 cages of koi and 2 cages of quail. And then if I got anything to go in the deep freezer, I got to get them in that, get that going. I had to make coffee in between all that time. So I got a lot to do in the mornings. Sundial Fragrance said, morning, y'all. Morning, Verna. Morning, Sundial. Glad to see you. Andy says, I don't live by a clock. I'm never on time. And Steve is just smiling. Don says, yep, coffee gets put on, dog outside, tend the quail and all the hydroponic microgreens, and then coffee and computer. Well, Dawn, before I went to bed last night, I made 2 trays of microgreens. C says, Andy, a clock is only meant to be a guide. Katrina, we were talking about you earlier. Were your ears burning? Katrina says, good morning, everyone from Gilroy, California. How is Miss Verna this morning? Miss Verna is just as crazy as ever. Before I went to bed last night, I put 2 microgreen trays going. I put more stuff in the freezer for the freeze dryer. Then when I got up this morning, got dressed, put Lucy outside, started coffee, fed all the animals, including Lucy. Started the freeze dryer. And in the freeze dryer, I have pickled beets and onions. And and Jello bites. Andy says, good morning, Katrina. Amy says, good morning, Katrina and Sundial. Bruno says, we have not seen 20 below in 10-ish years, but last night we hit it with the wind blowing hard. It was just nasty, getting better today. Monday rain. Now that is nuts. Yeah, that's insane. Katrina says, I ordered some sprouting seeds with my Azure Standard order. I'll get them Tuesday. That's a lot, Verna. Yeah, I did all that before being online this morning. And Andy says, good morning, Sundial. Dawn says, that's great, Verna. I have microgreens all over. I have to pollinate the tomatoes and cucumbers, check nutrient levels and microgreen water levels. I did hit the first like button last night here. Well, thank you, Dawn. Katrina said, good morning, Andy, Rabbit, Amy B, and all. Amy says, oh my God, Vermont, where do you keep your quail? Quail can handle 20 below outside. Amy. Dawn says, good morning, Katrina. What'd you get from her neighbor, Andy? Katrina says, good morning, Dawn. These are the containers that I have for microgreens. This is where the water goes. And I've already got the lids cut for the next set. These are going to go a few days behind the other ones. Amy says, but the window on top of that, mine are spoiled inside the garage in front of a window. Amy, if you have a place where the birds can get out of the weather, in other words, out of the rain, out of the snow, and out of the wind, they're happy. Well, the vacuum pump just kicked down on my freeze dryer. Oh, I got to put the other fan on. Hold a minute. I forgot to turn the fan on when I turned everything else on. Oh, it says, Sundown says, happy to see you as well. C says, when I get excessively cold, windy, I put a sheet of vinyl against the cage, mobile home skirting. That's good. Katrina says, I'm going to process quail and plant tomatoes in trays today. C says, Verna, which room is your freeze dryer? My freeze dryer's in the kitchen. My deep freezer's in the animal room. Amy says, thanks, Steve. I've been looking for less expensive vinyl. Dawn said, good cuts, Verna. I just got a new little tower for smaller batches too. I only started one tray so far in it to make sure it works, and it does. I like the fact it takes up less space, less room. Yeah, Dawn, what those are, I got those at the $1.25 store. And I looked through all they had. I needed one that had lids like this so I could put some soil here. Because I want to do a little soil on the first batch. The second batch would just be the paper towels that goes through those slots. And he says, I asked a friend this morning if she had heard about the feed egg laying problem. Oh man, it started a freaking argument on her end about the fact I won't shop at Tractor Supply and I pay less for feed. Hey, if you have a way to get to a grain store instead of big conniving money grubbing store, more power to you. And he says, I'd rather use a food meal than a more or less overpriced pet store. Exactly. She says, Amy, drive through a mobile home community in the spring. They had to replace every couple of years, so you can scarf up their old skirting. That's a good idea, Steve. Dawn says, I started with containers and that same method. I still use the paper towel method on small seeds. Yeah, but I cheat, Dawn. I put the seeds I'm going to plant, I put them in a mason jar with the sprouting lids full of water for 24 hours. Then I drain them, then I plant. So that way they get a head start. Nikki says, Andy, do you go to MFA? That's where I get my feed. I never heard of it. What's MFA? C says, I have to retire before I can use a local feed mill so I can get there during their store hours. Andy says, yes, I go to MFA. I don't know what MFA is. You guys enlighten me, please. Inquiring minds just have to know. Oh, okay. MFA is a feed mill. It's in Missouri. Okay. It's in Missouri. I had to get my Quail pellet, guinea pig pellets at chewy.com. It's the only place I can find that sells 50-pound bags. Dawn says, I use the mason jar soak on larger seeds. The tiller I have side steps that. I think I'm going to love it. Well, yeah, but the towers, they're white, and I got mad at mine because they got mold, so I had to wait until I could sanitize everything again. Dawn says, I've heard of MFA. Andy says, Mount Grove, Missouri is where most of the feed is made. That's only about 45-minute drive from me. Lucky, lucky, lucky. There ain't nothing in this area. And I'm using the Kallenbach guinea pig pellets, which are Timothy Hay pellets. And he says, I get a 25-pound of guinea pig feed from a different feed store. It's Richard Brothers. Never heard of them either. But mine are 50-pound bags that I get from Chewy.com. Because that's the only place around here that I can find big bags. TSC only sells the really bitty small bags. See, here's my radish seeds, broccoli seeds, salad mix. I'm going to make and put into one of the totes for and use it as a hydroponics because that's all Sala needs. And this is alfalfa, and you know who the alfalfa is for. All the animals. And then I got my arrow garden that I need to put some more lettuce in. Steve says, Andy, do you live on the good side or the bad side of the tracks? Haha. Sundial says, I am shopping local feed at my local feed stores. All okay for now. Well, see, I don't know where any feed stores are around here. I know I have to go on the other side of Dayton in order to find them. Andy says, I pay something like $22 for guinea pig feed. That's about what I pay for a 50-pound bag. And he says, Steve, I'm the good one. Haha. See, I live on the bad side of the tracks. But the other side gets worse. No, I guess I live on the good side of the tracks because the other side is where all the drug addicts and that hang. But about a year or so ago, I found a dead body that was coming from that area going home. And that wasn't good. And he says, it's a 25 bag of feed, but it takes me about 2 months to go through it. Trudy says, wow, not good, Verna. Oh, it was okay. I knew it was dead before I even got close to it. I didn't go close to it, and I didn't have my phone on me. And I was walking Lucy the first walk in the morning. But the cat lady was outside. And I walked back towards her. I asked her to call the cops. I said, there's a dead body over here. And she had to she had to investigate before she would call the police. And she goes, he's dead. I says, I told you that. And the police said that he had died late last night. In other words, he had been dead for about 12 hours before I found him. Nikki says, oh, speaking alfalfa, I did try my tea. I decided to mix it with blackberry and sage rather than lavender. Yeah, you want me to tell you another good tea, Nikki, that tastes good? And that's when you use sage and lemongrass. That is a great combination. Dawn says, I get feed from Buckshot Farm Supply. Horizon Acres feed is made by Buckshot Agriculture. And he says, not good at all. Sorry. And he said, my son was hauling rabbit feed last week. Well, the person that I found dead had overdosed and he was on his way home and he didn't make it. And the policeman that came knew the family, so. Dawn says, Andy, your son should let a bag fall off the truck at your house. Katrina says, my favorite tea from my yard, hot and spicy oregano, chocolate mint, and lemon balm. Yummy. Yeah, lemon balm is really great for tea. And if you take the fresh lemon balm, if you got a cold sore, you take a fresh lemon balm seed and mess it up until it gets juicy. Then put it on that cold sore. It'll get rid of it quick. It kills the herpes virus. Andy says, I get to learn a lot from him being a truck driver. Nikki says, I will try that. The lemongrass and sage. I think I'm going to be ordering some lemongrass seed because I would rather sprout that so I can have it for cooking and feeding to the animals. Dawn said, I had a dead body in front of my house and driveway. Hit and run twice. My camera system showed the whole thing. It was gross. Oh, Dawn. You got to turn that over to the police, didn't you? And he says, I told him that too. She's laughing. Oh, God, Dawn. Yuck. Nikki says, my favorite is ginger peach. Yeah, that is good. Dawn said, guy across the street, local drunk walking in the street, and 16-year-old drunk kid ran him over. Wow. Katrina said, wow, Dawn. Yeah, Katrina had the same exact response I did. Well, let's get on to life. That's enough to talk about death. I have one quail in a cage by herself, or himself rather, because he's being attacked. So we'll see what happens. Dawn says, I turned it over. Yes, we did. They let the kid off because his parents worked for the township. LOL, crooked cops. You know what? I'd be ornery. I'm the type, if I found that out, I would post that tape on Facebook. Let the whole world know about it. Nikki says, that's horrible, Dawn. And it says, I still have not gotten any eggs yet. What are you feeding your birds, Andy? And are they outside with extra light? She says, I can't turn my eggs off. Katrina asks how old they are. They are 1 day younger than mine. And I've been getting eggs for over a week. Dawn says, we just don't cooperate when the cops want anything now. They can rot. Yeah, but I would use it and I would post online if something like that happens. Anytime I find somebody getting away with something in the wrong. Andy, is your heat light red or white? And Andy answers, 7 weeks old, Katrina. Katrina says, Andy, jumbo? My jumbos tend to take a little longer than standards. Katrina, I have jumbo whites. And they laid 1 day before they were 6 weeks old. Andy, it could be the heat light. So yes, they have 24. You have 24 hours of white heat lamp. That's what it is. You're not giving them 8 hours of darkness. Dawn says, Verna, it's known the county sheriff in Illinois are totally corrupt. I think it is known nationwide, LOL. Dawn, I'm not going to reply to that because, yeah. I would probably get my channel banned. We'll put it that way. Nikki says, my Christmas hatch has started laying. Got 2 from them yesterday. Amy says, I just ordered leg bands. Thanks so much, Verna. Yeah, you just take one off. You take one, cut it open, take that key ring off, and then I usually do 3 or 4 rounds. Is how big I cut it. Andy says, but the heat lamp is pointed at the water now, just to keep it from freezing. Not any longer, just for the babies. You would be better off getting one of those submersible heaters, Andy, to put in your bucket of water. Katrina says, I got my key ring bands this week. Going to try them out on an Avery setting to see how they do. Yeah, my birds don't bother them. They don't even care that they're on their legs. And he says, they are celadons. A friend of mine told me his celadons seem to take a bit longer to start laying. Yeah, that could be. Katrina says, mine dig in the deep litter. I'm wondering how they will do with that. The band should be fine. It doesn't stick onto anything. It just wraps snugly against their legs. Well, not quite snugly because they're still young, and as their legs get thicker, it grows with them. Steve says, I picked up 2 flat aquarium heaters from Walmart, though I've not put them in yet. Dawn says, Steve, that is an interesting idea. That's what Andy needs. And he says, it's okay because I'm getting around 22 to 26 eggs a day from the adult cages. Nikki says, Andy might have a heat light to keep water from freezing too. Only I use a red light. And Nikki, do you use other lighting for your birds on a timer? Sundial says, my jumbo wilds start laying at about 5.5 weeks old. Yep, that's about right. You got my shire eggs, I bet. Eddie says, I was going to get the flat fish tank heaters. I just never ordered anything, LOL. But it's the thought that counts, right? Not when it comes to animal husbandry. You got to follow through, Andy. Nikki says, yes, I do have timed lighting. See, that's what you need, Andy, timed lighting. C says you got that right, Andy. Buster, good morning. Buster says hi to all. C says, Andy and I are 2 peas in a pod. Yeah, but see, I'll buy for my animals quicker than I buy for myself. Andy says, I have the heat lamp, haha. Oh, great, 20 likes. Ooh, that's wonderful. I only see 19, but I believe you because... Let's see if we can get up to 25. Everybody send out everybody share it and invite your friends, tag your friends. I don't see Aaron or any of them. Aaron or Christina. And he says, I have it on a timer, but it's on 24 hours time right now. Times right now, haha. C says, see, now you are just being greedy. No, I'm trying to grow. The Y files, they have gotten me a few members. And I love the white files. Andy says, I got my 3 likes in for you. 3 likes? I don't know how you get 3 likes in, Andy. If you do it under the same name, it'll only be 1 like. C says, I did my 2. Thanks, cuz. Andy says, I can also turn it on and off by my phone. Well, see, my quail light, when I got the garden going, I don't turn my overhead light until late afternoon. Steve says, we know how to cheat and make it count. LOL. Amy says, there's a feed mill at Washington Courthouse. I don't know where Washington Courthouse is, Amy. Is that Missouri? Because, the thing is, I want to grow this channel. Sundial says, my Shire eggs, of course. Yep. Oh, C says 63 miles east of you. Well, I can't walk 63 miles. And he says, Washington, D.C., don't trust it. And to get something shipped 63 miles probably costs a pretty penny. I know Zach used a couple of feed places. And he's got experts where they mix up his feed for him. Nikki says, I don't know if anyone else has had the same experience as me, but I notice that white heat lights make my birds more neurotic and aggressive. Red, they stay calmer. I've heard that before from somebody, Nikki. C says, just steal a bag from Zach. He'll never miss one. When I get when I need to, I will. And he says, I may get some eggs from my Shire someday. He is getting celandons going. And he says, so true, Steve. Nikki says, Washington Courthouse, Ohio. Yeah, Nikki, that's too far from me. S.O. Swanson says, red for growth, white for production. So that's why they get aggressive, Nikki. It's because they're in the breeding mood. They just gave me some kind of notification here. Oh, that was on my double egg. And he says, I never noticed anything different with the white light. I can't see the colors under the red light. Lucy, enough. Let me check and see if anybody's came up the stairs. Lucy, cave now. And you didn't do what I told you to do. Somebody must have been on the sidewalk by the door. Well, I didn't miss anything. Katrina says, how's the weather out there? Well, right now it's 27 degrees, according to my computer. It's supposed to get up to 44. Let me see. Echo, what's the wind chill factor?
Right now, the wind chill is 24 degrees Fahrenheit. Today, expect it'll feel like 36 degrees.
Echo, what's today's forecast?
Right now in Franklin, it's 31 degrees Fahrenheit with clear skies and sun. Today's forecast has mostly sunny weather with a high of 45 degrees and a low of 31 degrees.
There you go, Katrina. Did you catch all that? Andy says, I have seen some of the baby roosters starting to breed in the last few days. It's showing it should be warmer weather, so I hopefully can start leg banding the boys this weekend, hopefully. Katrina says, yep. San Farhan said, thank. Hello, Santa. If I'm saying it right. He's laughing. Do you have quail or quail? Please keep supporting all members. All members of what? Santa Farhan, do you have quail or koi? Nikki says, yes. There we go. Katrina, you're right. Spam. On my channel, I try to give them a little heads up and see if they can make sense. If they don't make sense, then I hide them. Andy says, yes. Yeah, Katrina. Katrina said, yep. When I'm the moderator of another channel, I don't give them that many chances. Jan says, Katrina, I agree. See, now if they have arrow gardens or gardening or doing quail or koi, they're welcome. But if they just want attention, they need to be gotten out of here. I guess I should start thinking about getting a moderator. I thought I was small enough and didn't need one. Andy says, my hubby just came upstairs and said you are watching on the TV and your phone. Ha ha. I can hear better on the TV and can type on my phone. Steve says, you should ask Verna. She's a great moderator. Ha ha ha. Oh, I was thinking about asking you because Katrina says, I would moderate, but I'm not always there all the time. I know, Katrina. That's why I didn't ask. Or I could ask Andy because Andy agrees, yes, she is, Steve. Katrina says, LOL, nice, Steve. Katrina says, let me know if you want me to be part-time moderator. Andy says, yeah, she'll be one. Okay, because I know Andy's at All Mine. And there you go, Andy. But you may have to go out and come back in order for it to show up. And we'll do Katrina as a part-time. There we go. Now you both have to leave, then come back in order for it to show on your end. Katrina says, cool. Don says, I'm too late, but you remember that guy you told me to go watch? And when I showed up, he made me the moderator, and I thought you tricked me. Yeah, that was, what was it? Was that Mark at Little Ridge Farm? And he says, I try to be here. I really enjoy your lives. Katrina says, I'm back. Now you see your little wrench? John says, it was South Carolina something. Oh, okay. South Carolina homestead, I think. Yeah, it wasn't a trick. He just makes everybody moderators so that his one moderator doesn't boot you out. Steve says, I would, though I'm not consistently on Wednesday. That's okay, Steve. I got 2 people, so it should work. Katrina says, I do too. It's a 3-hour difference so early, and Wednesday is during my work. And Andy says, I can see it. Dawn says, yay, 2 good moderators. Yeah, I have faith, Dawn. So that way, at least if one can't be here, maybe the other one can. But right now, I need a cup of coffee. My cup's too low. And it is still vacuum freezing. And he says, Katrina, that's your reason for getting to sleep in on Saturday, LOL. Sundial says, just put some quail eggs to boil. Yummy. Katrina says, hey, I'm a night owl, Andy. So am I, Katrina. And she says, nice, Sundial. And he says, do you have an egg peeler or do you peel by hand? I have a hand grinding, hand-powered egg peeler. C says, I love my egg peeler. I don't have an electric one because I'm running out of places to plug things in to use them. And he said, Katrina, I'm a night owl too, but I wake up at 6:30 to 7 no matter what, it seems. Sometimes I don't go to bed until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I'm up at 8:30. And he says, what do you have, Steve? He has an electric egg peeler. Even the manual ones are faster than doing it by hand. Trina says, I have an electric one too. I have a hand crank one. And he says, I'm thinking about getting one, trying to decide on hand crank or electric. Well, the thing that's good about the hand crank one is if you don't have power to run it, you can still have something to peel all those eggs with. So he says, yep, mine is electric. I have to because James eats them faster than we can peel them. It's just like sending kids to pick berries. They come home with more on their face than in the bucket. She says, I think I paid $89 for it. Let me see what I could find. Yeah, but how long ago was that, Steve? Yeah, electric. You can get an electric on for $80.99. So you might as well say $81 or $82. Whereas the hand ones are around $34. Oh, you can get it. Yeah, $80 is the lowest I've seen on the electrics. Yeah. No, $79.99. They have this smallest one is semi-automatic, $79.99. Lewis says, I have 2 egg peelers, a right and a left. Yep, that's hand. She says, I have that problem with berries too. And he says, so has anyone had a hand crank that got an electric? If so, what one do you like better? She says, I'll get you the link. Just a minute and I'll give the link. I forgot to drop one in. There you go. That's the list of all of them. And he says, thanks, Steve. You just let my hubby know how much they are. Haha. You unknowingly ratted me out. Nikki says, I mailed out my first batch of hatching eggs this week. I don't know if it's going to be worth it. Took 5 days to get there and 8 were broken. Box was damaged. Did you have insurance on it, Nikki? If you send it through the post, you automatically get $100 insurance. C says, Andy, it saves hours of work. Andy says, is the electric ones heavy? Katrina says, not too heavy. Nikki says, St. Louis distribution is a nightmare. Oh, man. Edgar Bates says, good morning, Verna and everyone. Good morning, Ed. You're up early. I was supposed to be signing off, and we're talking about electric egg fillers. C says the electric is 5.5 pounds. Nikki says, morning, Ed. Dawn says, Nikki, St. Louis sucks bad. Andy says, Nikki, I agree. St. Louis is a mess. It takes me 2 extra days to get anything that comes through St. Louis. Katrina says, wow, I hope they don't do that every time. Dawn says, good morning, Ed. Steve's saying, good morning, Ed. Did you catch any animals yet? Nikki says, yeah, everything I mail goes through there. Andy says, good morning, Ed. It's really afternoon now. Katrina says, hi, Ed. Nikki says, yes, I had insurance. So collect your insurance and send them out another package. Katrina says, still morning here, Verna. LOL. Yep, but it's not here, and Ed's in my time zone. She says, this morning till I finish a pot of coffee, no matter what time it is. So in my case, it'd be morning until about 2, 3 o'clock. Sundial says, what are the prices for quail eggs for consumption? It depends on your location, Sundial. I was selling them at $3 a dozen. A 2-dozen carton costs $5. And I'm getting loud for some reason. Don says St. Louis is where all our mail has to go through to get to it. Illinois. They got bad with COVID, and now it's still bad. They sent a package through all their distribution centers for days, so they lose them. That says, Steve, no, I didn't set the trap because it was going to feel like in the teens last night and only in the 20s today. Didn't want the animals frozen. What you hunting, Ed? Don said, my eggs go for $3.50 a dozen. Yeah, if I was to sell them, I'd have to sell mine up for $3.50 a dozen. Dawn says, Ed, when we get a trap, we only caught our own cats for the first week. And he says, prices do depend on your area. I always catch my cats first, too. Oh, Lucy's coming up to say hi. Oh, she even looked at you guys today. That says, cats, I don't own any, but for some reason I have 3 that hang out there. Christina says, totally depends on the area. $5 here, but I know one person on Craigslist has them for $1 a dozen. And now I have a Chinese man who wants 7 dozen a week for his wife. She wants to get pregnant, LOL. Katrina says, hi, Lucy. And Katrina says, someone on Craigslist has it for $2. Okay. Well, you know, they probably have standards and you have jumbos. Guys, I'm going to let her out. I'll be right back. I'm going to let her out and take a nature break. Then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Let me get my glasses back on so I can see. Let's see. Sundial says, I was wondering since the chicken eggs got expensive. Yeah, it's up to you, Sundial, what price you send. You can always lower your price, but it's harder to raise them. And he says, be careful telling people on the groups what you're getting on your eggs. I've seen people jump others for what they can get in their areas a few times. Yeah, there's a lot of competition, people getting a bug up their butt. Sundial says, thank you. I'm in Houston, Texas. Over here, $4 for 12. See, that's a good price. Andy says, I looked on Craigslist the other day to see if I'd seen egg prices there. That gives me an idea how much they're going for around me. My problem is I had customers that I had last year that wanted eggs from me, and I didn't have any birds at the time, and that hurt me. But they wanted hatching eggs. And I didn't have any. C says, my problem is I'm limited to farm pickup only. I live way out in the six. That is what I'm limited to as well, Steve. Nikki says, that's normally where I check prices too, Andy. Steve, I have that same problem. Yeah, I can legally ship in the state of Ohio, long as it's in the state of Ohio, but I would rather not. So, Ed, what do you have in your freeze dryer this morning? Sundial says, does anyone know where I can find jumbo egg cartons? The ones I have from Amazon are great for standard, but a little small for jumbos. Try looking for paper egg cartons, paper small quail egg cartons, Sundial, and they're usually a little bit bigger than the plastics. Don says, I don't know why all our mail has to go through St. Louis to get to Illinois. We have distribution center in Springfield and other cities in Illinois. C says, I cannot ship or deliver our farm market until I get NPIP. He also says, Ed's going to have jumbo egg cartons soon. And Andy says, Steve, I was told if the item is paid for on your site, you can then take it to them. And an app pay works if you are at home when you receive the payment. So don't open the app unless at home. You guys, I'll be right back. I got to go close those doors. Good girl, Lucy. I'll get you your treat in a minute. Okay. There you go, baby. Now let me see where. Sundial. Dawn says, Sundial, I get my jumbo egg cartons, which are plastic and really nice, from Northwest Quail Farm on Etsy. Well protected eggs and all jumbo fit. That says, LOL, I have air in my freeze dryer at the moment, but hoping to have fresh mango and some other fruit. Just did 8 pounds of strawberries. Cool, because I've got 2 trays of Jello and 2 trays of pickled beets. Katrina says, if I recall correctly, C State is super strict on that. Yeah. C says they include internet and online sales in the restriction. Trina says, Ed, I'm sure there's a market for freeze-dried air somewhere. And Sundial says, thank you, Dawn. Andy says, oh, that's sad, Steve. C says, oh, funny, I can sell birds live and processed anywhere. Ed says, no, I'm not doing the egg cartons. I did wait to invest $750 to not sell them, let alone store that many. C says, my plastic cartons are jumbo, but they've been sold out since I initially purchased them. And he says, a lady I know says she don't sell eggs. Her people just donate to her. Haha. C says, Ed, so you didn't do the cartons? And he says, I know people that don't sell herbs. They sell the bag and fill it for free. Ed says, Katrina, probably people will buy anything. As they say, a fool and his money are easily parted. Nikki says, yes, Don. Even if I ship to Kansas, all my stuff goes through St. Louis. Even the local postmasters complain about them. Sundial said, thank you, Verna. I don't know what you said thank you for, but that's okay. Now, see, I got to process clay. I have to get another cookbook out. And he says, because you are just great, Verna. If you say so. I'm just me. No one special. That's it. No, didn't carts. I've only sold 30 of the quail egg scissors, so that leaves me with 270. Aww. Sell them on eBay, Ed. Or Amazon. Amy says, do hard-boiled eggs need a vinegar soak to peel easily? No, Amy. To me, all I do is I gently tap it on the counter with my hand, and then I roll it around in a circle. It feels easy to me. Dawn says, I've only sold one pair of quail egg scissors. One Chinese man only. They most all boil the eggs. Ed says, I will drag them to QuailCon and sell them for $1 each. Nikki says, Ed, what's the link for your sales? Ed, send me a message with your link, Ed. Amy says she just ordered a hand cranked peeler. I've used mine once. I haven't had eggs in there. Egg says, I don't have a link. So you just have to message Ed on Facebook. And he says, Amy, my grandmother said salt was needed. Some other old lady told me vinegar was needed. So I just put both in the water when I boil them. Another thing I heard is you can put baking soda in the water. It makes them easy to boil. Katrina says, Amy, if you shake them in a bowl to crack them lightly, then put them back in cold water. Once the water gets between the shell and the egg, and it's easy to peel. C says, Ed, just give your email. Eddie says, congratulations, Amy. You still have to roll them on the counter to get them started, Amy, because they have to be cracked in order even for the hand peeler to work. Jan says, online Walmart advertises quail scissors can be used on pigeon eggs and as a cigar cutter. I find that interesting. Sundial says, for the info about the egg cartons, thank you. Okay, just all you gotta do is say for the help you gave me. I'd understand that. That's what I'm here for, is to help. Andy says, no, also Steve says they're cigar cutters just made into scissors. And that's true. And he says the biggest trick to peeling eggs are letting them get cold completely. Then, like Verna says, roll them. Amy says, I'm excited for the new quail adventure. Thanks for help, everyone. Dawn says, I dump mine in the sink with cold water. Then I roll them around like Verna, and the water gets between the shell. Let them get good and cold, then peel. Yeah, that way the egg can shrink a little. Because heat makes it expand, ice makes it shrink. C says, Amy, we're thrilled to be on your adventure with you. Yes, we are, Amy. That's why we do all that we do. Because it is truly an adventure. And it is fun. Katrina says, yeah, I put directly into ice water until completely cool, then shake in a bowl and put back into the water and then peel. That says, Steve, I put my email on Messenger. Well, here's the one. Well, I can't share it in group chat, Ed, because I'm not in group chat anymore. Andy says, crapola. My power just went out. Oh my God, I hope it comes back on fast. My eggs are in lockdown. Quick, Andy, throw a blanket on it. That keeps the heat in. Amy says, put several layers of towels over the incubator. Put several layers. Oh, she said it twice. Okay. Sundial says, I tried baking soda and it works great. Jan says, cover with blankets or towels. Nikki says, oh no, because of wind? No, Nikki, it keeps the heat in with your lights being out. Amy says, I don't know that duplicated. Sorry. Oh, you don't know how? It doesn't matter. C says, if I can't tend to the eggs right away, I leave in cold water in the refrigerator. Andy says, I'm going to cover it with a blanket. Ed says, yes, insulate it quickly. Dawn says, oh my God, Andy, get several layers of material on it. Even put a box on it. Do everything you can. And leave it plugged in for when the electricity comes on. That says it will keep the heat in until power comes on. Yep, blanket will do it. Katrina says, good luck, Andy. Amy says, we're all pulling for Andy's quail babies. Getting to lockdown takes some effort. That says hopefully soon. C says if it stays out too long, use a kerosene lantern. We know you got one of them. Trudy says, or hand warmers as emergency heat. Yeah, I keep hand warmers in my drawer. Right? Right here. She says, oh, lantern inside cardboard, not under the blanket. Yeah, we know, Steve. That says if you have one of those silver emergency blankets, toss it on, then a normal blanket. Yep, a Maillard blanket. And he says, this is twice in this hatch already. Andy, do you have a Mylar blanket? That's one of those silver emergency blankets. Echo, where's my order?
A package for Verna's order was delivered yesterday at 1:20 p.m. to the front door, containing phone collars and pin.
I guess I didn't make my other order. She says, you are just being tested, Amy. Amy, have faith. It'll be good. Amy says, I do have a plug in my van. I will move it to the van if needed. And he says, no emergency blanket. Cesar, there you go. Yeah, if your electricity's out for an hour, I'd move it to the van. And it says, and I don't have a kerosene lantern either. Well, do you have some clay pots and the candles? Because you can make a radiant heater out of that. That says, when I was young and broke, I used to sleep on those emergency blankets to keep warm, as I had the heat down low to save money. C says, what kind of country girl are you? Amy says, clay pots and Crisco. Yeah, Crisco candle and clay pots. Jan says, hot water and old milk jugs will work. Andy says, I live in the city. She's like me. She's a city girl that thinks she's country. Andy, how many rabbits do you have total? Andy says, so I'm timing it. It's 11:30. Yep. Amy says, I raised steel meat rabbits in the city. Had 19 at one time. But how many do you have now? Sundial says, if you have a plug in your car and the option to plug the incubator in it in your car, that works as well. Well, that's why she said her van. And he says, oh gosh, Amy, I have maybe close to 50 rabbits. I'm not sure hubby likes, says like 40. Amy says, I was getting back into rabbits, but called on being hateful for my first doe. Don't understand that. See, I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. I have 5, 10, I have 13 koi and 10 quail. And he says it's close to 50 with the babies. Amy says she was terribly aggressive and I don't want to breed that into future bunnies. Oh, I understand that aggression problem. I have some koi that like to give me love bites. At least she got more gentle when she does it. But I showed everybody Big Mama earlier. And I can't use my Wynola Ranch cage for the rabbits. One, because it's slant and has egg roll out trays. And two is if I turn it upside down for them to be on a flat side, I had to put new wire on it because the openings are too big. Now, should I let you guys see Little Mama before I sign off today? See if anybody wants to see Little Mama. Well, of course. Sure. It's close to 50 till I butcher. I'll be right back. Now here is Little Mama. See how pretty she is? okay. It's okay. Now here's one of the ones that I'm going to be harvesting soon. This one is Two-Face. Oh, okay. Everybody said, of course. And Dawn says, hey, I see 21 likes. I see 20, Dawn. Trudy says, so furry. Dawn says, nice long hair. Yeah, but hers isn't as long as Big Mama's. C says, you be correct, Dawn. Verna can't count. No, it's what, it's not that I can't count. It's that YouTube doesn't give me the full count. Amy says, is she an Obsidian Peruvian cross? I don't know, Amy. I got them from Jesse, and he got them at an auction. Dawn says, Steve, I think we see different numbers than the ones that do the videos do. Yeah, that's exactly right, Dawn. C says, I see 20 likes. Maybe it doesn't show me my own like, LOL. Katrina says, wow, that's a big one. Sundial says, absolutely. And he says, that Two-Face one should always be harvested, LOL. He's a pretty one. Or she, I don't remember if that's a he or a she. C says, definitely see why you call her Little Mama compared to Big Mama. That's only sees 20 likes like I do. And we have somebody just join back in. And he says, Two-Face was implied different. Yeah, this Two-Face is because one side of her face is black and the other side is white. Amy says, where did you find guinea pig auctions? Is it the small animal auctions monthly in Marysville, Ohio? It could be, Amy. I haven't been to one. I didn't get it. Jesse did. Jesse Mills. Sundial says, so cute. And he says, I was joking about people. Yeah, those type of people, Andy, are cut out of my life real quick. And Steve says, I knew what you meant. There's a couple of them that, even if they come into a live I'm in, I don't acknowledge. I went over budget last month. So this month, it's the shortest month. I got to tighten my belt. I got a real strict budget I have to follow. Katrina says, I have to head out. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for the great chat and information. You have a blessed day. And you know, I should be heading out too, everybody. It is almost 12:40. It's 12:39. So why don't we just call this a day? And I'll see everybody tomorrow night at my Shire's live stream. If I don't see you on Facebook before then. Have a blessed day, everybody, and good luck, Andy. And Andy, tell me how your hatching goes. Katrina, if you're late tomorrow, Zach doesn't keep schedule, doesn't keep attendance. And Ed says I spent 50 more than that my paycheck was. Yeah, so I spent about 100 more. Y'all have a blessed night.